So in our last session, we have discussed about AWS account creation. So we have regions, we have availability zones, that is nothing but data centers, and we have edge locations, that is nothing but cage locations. So then we have seen how we can create our AWS account. So first of all, you need to have an email. So make sure you have an access to that email. So use that email, set up a strong password and give an account name. And in step 2, you need to give your contact information. So here you need to select whether it is a personal account or company. To enter your name. And in fourth step, in step 3, it will ask you to enter the payment information. So when coming to payment information, it accepts only Visa card, MasterCard and American Express. And to verify your card status, whether it is a valid one or not, so Amazon is going to deduct 2 Indian rupees or $1 from your bank account, and that is going to be refunded. You will get the 2 rupees back into your account. And in fourth step, we need to verify our identity, just to test like any robot or any bot is running this account creation and all. So manual verification required here. So you need to enter the CAPTCHA, you need to enter a valid phone number, and when you click on call me now, immediately you are going to get a call to that given mobile. So you need to answer that call, and at the same time you are going to get a 4-digit PIN number on top of your screen. You need to enter this 4-digit PIN number within that call IVR. So then identity verification is going to complete. So then the step 5, we need to choose a support plan. This is an important when coming to certification part. So again, these are the things like if you need assistance from any of the third-party organization or any professional services to migrate an application from on-premise to AWS. So when coming to support, mainly we have 3 types of supports. First one is accounting and billing related one. I'll take you through these support tickets. And second one is service limit increase. And for every service, we have a soft limit. Again, that is a soft limit. So whenever you want to increase that, you can raise a ticket and Amazon is going to increase that. And third one is technical support. So these 2 is free for 24/7 for all the support plans. Whatever support plan you are. So accounting and billing related and service limit is free, and you have 2 options: phone support or chat support, or email, chat or email. So you can enter your phone number when you click on call me now, you will get a call from AWS. Or if you really don't want to take that call, if you want to like interactive over the email, so then you can choose email or support center. So conversation will happen there itself. However, if you choose phone also, that will display that entire information display in support center. So then when coming to support plans, we have basic support plan, developer support plan, business support plan and enterprise support plan. We have total 4 support plans. The first one is free basic support plan. But the thing is no technical support, no technical assistance from Amazon Web Services. And if you need any, you can just depend on support forums or knowledge base articles. Then you can get this technical support. So again, when coming to, we have a service called Trusted Advisor that just gave suggestions. You're going to get only 7 core area checks. Just 7 core area checks will give you suggestions how you can save some cost, how you can perform some fault tolerance or high availabilities. Again, I'll take you to that one also. So then, developer support plan. When coming to developer support plan, it starts from $29 per month. And when coming to this third technical support, you're going to get assistance within 12 to 24 local business hours. One. And you're going to get 7 core checks and 1 user can raise a ticket. One primary user can raise a ticket, and you can raise multiple tickets also. Ticket is nothing but issue. If you need some assistance or if you need some clarifications from AWS, you can raise a ticket. Okay. So then business. When coming to business support plan, it starts from $100 per month, and your issue take up time is 1 hour for this technical support, and you're going to get full set of trusted advisor checks, and any user can raise a ticket, either he's an IAM user or root user, that we will discuss today. So multiple tickets also can raised. So that is a business support plan, and in my opinion 80% of the organization will use this business support plan, and 10% of the organization will use this enterprise support plan, 5% or 5 to 7% with this developer, 2 to 3% with this basic. Forget about personal. When coming to enterprise level or organizational level, so very less organizations will go with this basic support. Again, you can change this plan at any time. You can change this plan at any time. So here is an enterprise support plan, starts from $15,000 per month. So when coming to this third technical support, within 15 minutes, if it is a business critical application, and if it is a production, within 1 hour your issue is going to take up, and one senior engineer is going to review, one senior solution architect will review, and you're going to get full set of trusted advisor checks, and any user can raise a ticket. You're going to get AWS trainings, self-placed labs. So you're going to treat it as a royal customer there. So these are the 4 support plans we have. We even discussed questions related to this one also. Okay. So now let me log into my AWS account. Let me show you where you can raise a ticket, how to track the ticket, and where you can change the support plan. Okay. So now, again, if you remember that entire URL, you can give that aws.amazon.com/console, or else you can simply give aws.com. You give aws.com, it will take you to this login page. So here is an option, sign into the console. So click on sign into the console. And so recently I've logged in with this email, root email. So if you want to log in with any other, here is an option, sign into a different account. It will ask you to enter this email ID here. So then click on next. It will ask you to enter the password. So I have given a strong and secured password, but however, okay, so I've logged into my AWS account. While creating account, I have given my account name as Avinash Reddy. So that is why it is displaying that. First thing. If you want to edit, yes, we can edit those things. I'll show you. Okay. And as a first step, I want to see what support plan I am using. So here is an option, support center. Go to support center, and we discussed about basic support plan. They will get support from forums. Here is an option. Go to forums. There you can find many tickets. These are discussion forums. What exactly service you are talking about, what issue you are facing, you can just look for that here. Okay, and you may see some solutions here, AWS Avinash. Those solutions provided me. So I used to write articles here. Okay, so now the first option is support center. So click on support center. So now my current support plan is basic. Here you can see. So if I want to change, I can click on this change and I can change that. Along with that, whenever you create your AWS account, you are going to get a 12-digit unique AWS account ID. Here it is. So if you want to share any resource from one AWS account to another AWS account, yes, you are going to use that account ID, then you can share the resources. That is going to be unique across the globe. Again, if it is difficult to remember, we can give an alias name in an IAM. So Here is a change option, but before that, I want to raise a ticket. So here is an option, click on create a case. So these are the previous tickets. The first one is accounting and billing related support. For example, you created your AWS account and that is not activated. You are able to log in, but you are not able to create any service. So in that case, just go here, accounting and billing category. Then what type of issue you are facing? So is it related to account, or is it related to account management or billing, educate, AWS marketplace? So let's assume it is something related to account. So then what category within that? Issue related to account activation, or you want to change account details, or you want to cancel or close account, or you want to change that transfer, you want to perform that ownership transfer, then you can pick that category. So this one, convert EC2 Classic to VPC. So earlier, before VPC is introduced in AWS, we have a concept called EC2 Classic Networks. That is a networking part. So if your organization is still using that EC2 Classic Networks, you can simply raise a ticket and you can convert that to entire VPC. So with a single ticket, Amazon is going to perform. So let's assume you are facing some issue related to account activation. These are helpful links. You can use that, or if your issue is not covered in these useful links, scroll down. What is the subject? What is the description? If you want to upload any of the attachments or images, you can upload that. So then contact option. Web, that is nothing but email or support center. Phone, we can select the country and we can give the phone number. If you have any extension, you can give that and submit. Immediately you're going to get a call from Amazon and you need to answer, and if you mention your issues, so they will redirect to that particular departments, or they will create a ticket, and the ticket you can track in this console. This is service limit increase. So in AWS we have soft limits. For example, if you want to create servers, you can create only 20 running servers. If you want to create folders in a platform called S3, that's nothing but bucket, you can create only 100 buckets. So, but you need more than that for a project use case. So if you want to raise a ticket, just go here. What is the limit type you are looking for? S3. And severity is going to pick automatically. The limit is bucket limit. What is the new limit you required? I need 200. I need 200. So then if you want to add another request, you can add that one also. Why you need that? Mention that use case description. Again, contract options, click on submit. So the third one is a technical support, but I'm in basic support plan. Whenever we are in basic support plan, are we going to get technical support? No. So unable to under the basic support plan. Okay, so just cancel this, or just go to view support plans. You can get more details about the support plans. And if you want to change, here is an option. Click on change. So I'm performing this operation as a root user. We have not yet discussed about IAM. We cannot perform these operations by using IAM user. Root user is going to have complete access on our AWS account. Is a master on our AWS account. So this is a comparison. What support plan you want to click on change plan. So if you want to go with developer, select this, scroll down, click on change plan. If you want to business, go here, click on change plan. If you want enterprise, just go here. You need to contact AWS for this. That is a good thing. This is going to cost you 15,000 if you accidentally activate it. So you need to contact. Here is an option. Contact us. So it will take you to enterprise support plan contact us page. So here you need to fill up these information. So then Amazon will contact us. Then after they will activate enterprise support plan our AWS account. And if you observe, these are some previous tickets. So what happened earlier, I explored one service called SFTP, AWS Transfer for SFTP. So they have introduced very like last year December. So at the same time, like I was very curious in January. I tried to explore that service and I find a bug there. So I just raised a ticket, and this is what the conversation happened. They have given some scripts to delete that, and it got failed multiple times. So this is what the conversation happened. Finally, the ticket is closed, and they have provided $170 worth the coupon. So I applied the same. So I applied that coupon. So I can explore some paid services. So $170 worth the coupon. So that is related to billing and disputed charge. I just raised a ticket and it went on. That is a place where you can raise a support ticket here. Okay. So then now let's discuss what are the first steps you need to perform after creating your AWS account. Now I want to secure this. So if someone easily guess email ID and password of my AWS account, I'll get into trouble, right? So you can navigate to account management page. You can close my AWS account. When you close your AWS account, how many resources you already have? It is going to delete everything. All running resources, everything. So the time I spend, or he may launch a high configured server. I can get a notification, that secondary thing, but your account is compromised. So to not get into such type of issues, what you can do, you can enable multi-factor authentication on your root account, MFA. Multi-factor authentication. Okay, one suggestion, guys. Please don't maintain any running nodes. Here, this is a running screen. So I want you to concentrate here. I'll share entire material, and whatever the notepad I'm updating here, I'll share that one also. I'll share entire AWS soft copy, the book, or if you habituated with that hard copy, you can purchase that book from Naresh IT, or you can go out any Xerox center, you can ask AWS Avinash Material, they will give you a book for 100 rupees or 150 rupees. Okay, so please concentrate here. You really no need to maintain any running nodes. Okay. So why? Because it's a running screen. So while you're writing something, you may miss 1 or 2 points here. Okay. So multi-factor authentication. You know this. So for example, let's take Gmail. You're logging from a brand new device. So the Gmail is going to suspect that login activity. They will send a 6-digit PIN. So you need to enter, then only it allow you to log in. So exactly same way, we have multiple options. Like we have physical hardware device or software MFA devices. You can pick any. So then you can activate MFA, multi-factor authentication. Simple. After entering your username and password, it will ask you to enter 6-digit PIN, which you are getting from associated MFA device. If you enter that, then only it allow you to log in. Otherwise, it won't allow you to log in. Okay. So earlier when I logged in, I just given username and password, I simply logged in. So if you easily guess the password, you have given a couple of tries and you have cracked my password. So I want to secure that at the moment. So now let's navigate to IAM first. So these all things you can find under IAM. So under security, identity and compliance, sometimes you can find here or sometimes you can find here. Okay. So security, identity and compliance. There, the first option is IAM. IAM stands for Identity and Access Management. Your identity and access management. So select that. And we do have an option, guys. What are the services we are accessing frequently? You can pin that services here. Click on this pin. What exactly service? For example, I'm using Cloud9 frequently. Then I can simply drag and drop and I can pin this. If I want to, I can simply click on this. It will take me to that Cloud9 service. So you can easily navigate to that service. So at moment we are going to discuss IAM. So I selected IAM. Now when you navigated to IAM for the first time, you're going to have only one tick mark here and all zeros and 4 exclamatory marks. Okay. So the first option you are going to get automatically. Delete your root access keys. I'll tell you what exactly the root access keys are. So the second option is activate MFA on your root account. The one I am talking about. So if someone, now you guys know my email ID and you have cracked my password. So then I'll get into trouble, right? So I'm going to activate multi-factor authentication. And Amazon strongly recommend you to enable MFA. And I told you here when we discussed, we talked about one service, right? Trusted advisor checks. Trusted advisor checks. Let's go there and verify. So I'm on my AWS dashboard. Under management and governance, you can find trusted advisor. Go to trusted advisor. It just gave advices, guys. It is not going to fix any issue. You need to review that, then you need to fix that automatically. See, here, these are the checks it is going to happen. MFA on your root account, it is not enabled, so it is going to give you a couple of warnings and all. It is going to refresh. So it gives you suggestions for all these. Simple, it just gives you suggestions. So it is showing one warning. Okay, I can go here, I can review that manually, I can fix that issues. Okay. So first of all, I want to enable MFA. So then click on manage MFA. The first option is password. If you want to change password or if you want to change your account name, then go here, click on this. Click here, then it will ask you to enter your password. Seems that website is temporarily unavailable. So it will ask you to enter the password, then you can modify those values. That is a changing password or name or email address. The second one is multi-factor authentication. So click on activate MFA. Now we have multiple types of MFA devices. Virtual MFA device. Virtual MFA means you can use your soft phone. Either it is an Android or iOS or Windows operating system, you can install an application there and you can start using that. So that is a virtual MFA. We have hardware MFA devices. Here you need to purchase a device. You need to purchase a device. Then we have U2F security key, UB2 key. You need to connect the device. When you press a button, then only it allows you to log in. It won't give 6-digit PIN, but that device must connect it to the laptop. Then only it allows you to log in. So again, based on your requirement. For example, some organizations, they won't allow to carry smartphones onto the floor. So in that case, we cannot use this virtual MFA. For example, I worked on a Bank of America project. No feature phones, no smartphones onto the floor. They will give you a desk phone. You must use that. No other options. Even CGI also, the same. So if you want to make a call, you need to come down and you need to take phone from locker, then only you can do the call. Otherwise, no options. So in that case, we cannot use smartphones. So then you can purchase that hardware device and you can use that. Based on the design, based on the look, the price is going to vary again. So we are going to use virtual MFA in our session. And based on your mobile operating system, if you are using Android or iOS, we have multiple applications. One is Google Authenticator and second one is Authy two-factor authenticator. First of all, install this application in your device and keep it ready. Again, this application doesn't require internet always. It doesn't require. When you download, only at the time it required. Then after it doesn't require. And if you are using Windows, any Windows users nowadays? No, right? So, but we do have an application, Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator. Okay. So when coming to hardware MFA device, you can get that links. So click on this URL, this link, it will take you. So you are using virtual MFA. So these are the supported applications. And if you are using U2F key, you need to purchase. So click on this purchase, it will take you to that device purchase. So you need to connect this device and you need to press this, and only it allow you to log in. This is one type of key. And another one is hardware MFA. This is a device. This is the cheapest one when coming to hardware. This is something looks like a card, but here it has a display. Display card, it is going to generate 6-digit PIN continuously. You need to enter that. Again, don't worry about these hardware devices. So if you are using US EvoV Cloud, so you need to go with this device only. This particular device. EvoV Cloud only. Right? So again, I'm going to use my smartphone and I already have that application on my mobile. It's already installed. So then click on continue. So when you click on continue, it is going to give you a QR code. So you need to enter that QR code. You need to scan that QR code by using this application. This is how exactly that application looks like. This is how exactly that application looks like. I'll turn on the video. So this is an application. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on scan QR code. Then after begin setup, it gives two options. One is scan barcode or manual entry. The scan barcode, basically, if your camera is working, you can use that. But accidentally something happened to your camera, but you have a smartphone, then you can use that manual entry option. But the worst part is you need to enter all this secret key there. So luckily my camera is working, so I'm going to scan this now. Click on scan barcode and I've scanned. Immediately I got a 6-digit PIN number here. So I need to enter that 6-digit PIN number here. And you should not skip any between keys. So you must enter two consecutively generated keys. So my first key is 792491. Sorry. That is going to expire. It got changed its color and it is expiring. And I got a new code. And click on assign MFA. Alright, so it is saying you have successfully assigned virtual MFA device. If you later on, if you are facing any difficulties, you want to resynchronize or you want to remove, you can come to the same page, click on manage, remove or resync. Okay. Now let's navigate to IAM dashboard. Here left you can find the dashboard option. Click on the dashboard. So we got a tick mark for this second option. Activate MFA on your root account. Now let me sign out and let me sign in back. Click on sign out. Now sign into the console. Click on sign into the console and enter your email ID. So I'm entering my password. It is asking me to enter authentication key, authentication code. So I must open that application. Whatever the authentication code I got here, I need to enter that. And this is going to change for every 15 to 20 seconds. So whether you have internet or not, that doesn't matter. So you need to enter that. Click on sign in, then only it allows you to. So if you are facing any difficulties, just below to that code, you have an option. Facing difficulties, contact AWS. You can resynchronize or you can raise a ticket from that window itself. Amazon will call you. They will ask you what is your root email, what is the primary contact information, and they will unblock it temporarily. They will disable MFA temporarily. Then you can just log in and you can reactivate or you can disable that feature. Okay. So now We have seen how we can activate MFA on your root account. Now, I have one question. So I told you this, whatever the email you use to create this AWS account called as a root account. And if you are using this root account, you can perform any operation. Agree or not? Account close, or you can change support plan. You can perform everything, right? So let's assume you're working as a team. So 4 members working on AWS team. Out of these 4 members, so like one user, like let's assume he's a TL, and another user, he required access, his main job or his functionality is on storage tier only, and another service is there, like let's take compute. He's going to work on servers, he's going to launch a server, monitor that server, and another user is there, he's just for monitoring purpose. So this TL need complete access or full access. Let's assume he's a TL and this guy is a storage admin and this guy is a system engineer and this monitoring team only. So let's assume one team who continuously monitor production systems. When any system is down, immediately they are going to inform to system engineers, or if any alert came on storage, they are going to inform storage admins. They will continuously monitor. And team lead is going to work on multiple services. Now, we have 4 different members in a team and 4 users require different level of accesses. You can give root access to all these users. But do you have any guarantee that this user just going to monitor, he is not going to perform any write operation? He may launch a server or he may accidentally terminate a server. Why? Because the permissions you have given to that user can perform anything. The level of permissions you are allocating. Agree or not? So this full access, fine. Okay, let's assume, okay, this user, oh, fine. This user you may give root access. Because he need full access, he's going to roam across AWS account and he's going to work on multiple AWS services. But this user, I want to limit this user to only S3 service. S3 is a service exactly same as Google Drive. We have Google, this is Amazon's version of Google Drive. We will deep dive into that at moment. Just assume where you can store some data and you can share with another users. Okay. So I want to limit this user access to only S3 and I want to limit this user access to only EC2. EC2 means Elastic Compute Cloud. That's a place where you are going to run servers, where you are going to launch server. Okay. And the last one, I want to give read-only access. On my entire AWS account are only couple of services. I want to give completely read-only access on all services, let's assume, as that is a monitoring team. So if I gave these root credentials to all these 4 members, I'm nowhere limiting this user to perform activities on S3. If he know about EC2, he can switch to that service and he can perform something. And this guy, he may switch to any of the service like VPC and he may perform some of the activities. So delivering root credentials to multiple users is not at all a recommended operation. It is not at all a recommended operation. So to overcome such type of issues, we have an option called IAM. IAM stands for Identity and Access Management. So for our day-to-day activities, we are not going to use root account. We will use IAM. So generally in organizations, IT manager or accounting manager, they are going to hold that root credentials. Okay, they are not going to give this root credentials for everyone. If it is a very small organization, yes, you may get a chance to work on that, but generally, no. Okay. The advantage with this IAM is I can create a set of rules or permissions and I can apply on the users based on their job roles. For TL, I can create a policy. Basically, policy is nothing but a document that returns in JSON format and contains set of permissions on our AWS account. It's a document, contains a document written in JSON format, JavaScript object notation format, and that contains set of permissions on our AWS account. We have AWS managed policies, job function policies, and customer managed policies. Amazon defaultly given 400 and plus policies. And some policies, like if it is a developer, okay, he's going to work on all these services. If he's a network administrator, okay, allocate this. And if he's a storage admin, allocate this. If he's a data scientist, okay, allocate this policy. Based on job role also, Amazon intelligently given couple of job role policies. Along with that, you can create your own policies and you can apply that. This customizing policies or customer managed policies, we will create in our next session, not in today's session. Okay. So at moment, I'll go with the AWS managed policy. So now let's take a couple of policies. We have administrator policy. It gives full access on AWS services and resources, but not related to account management. He cannot change credit card or debit card. He cannot change the support plan. He cannot close AWS account, but he can launch a service. He can terminate that service, all related to applications and services he can perform, not related to account management. Account management, only root user. Okay, so don't get confused between this root and administrator. The second one, like another one, so like let's take S3 as a service. If you are taking S3, we have multiple S3 read only. Along with that, S3 full access. So he is going to get only read only operations. He cannot perform write operations. He can just view, he can read the data, but he cannot create a new resource. And along with that, S3 full access also is there. And I can give, based on my requirement, I can give the policy here. When coming to EC2, the same EC2 read only and EC2 full access, and some more we have. And exactly same way, if you are taking read only, yes, we have read only access on our entire AWS account. These are the predefined policies. Again, if you are looking for a policy where it should contain access on S3 as well as EC2, that is by default it is not available. But I have a user who need access on two services, I can create manually. That I'll show you how to create in our next session. Now for this full access, instead of root, I'm going to associate administrator policy to this user. And for this storage, whether you want to give read only or full access, let's assume you need S3 full access. I'm going to give that S3 full access. For this EC2, let's assume he need EC2 read only. I'm going to give that. And here, just monitoring, he just need completely read only policy. I'm going to associate. So he's going to have his own username. He's going to have his own username, and he's going to have his own username with his own set of permissions. And these all users can log into our AWS account by using a different sign-in URL, not the regular email. So if you are using email, again, you are logging as a root user. We are going to get a username. By using that username, we can log in. Okay. So now, again, multiple users are there. Let's assume on this compute, 5 administrators are going to work. 5 users are going to work. 5 users required same set of permissions. So instead of applying on individual user, we can create a group. You can apply that policy on group. You can add all the users to group. Managing users on group wise is easy, right? It's easy managing with group wise. So we can create a group and we can apply permissions or policy on group level. Then we can add all the users to that group. I'll show you all these options. All right. So now let's create an IAM user. Now, so far I am working as a root user. See here, if you find only name, not at the rate your account name or not at the rate your ID, that means you are using root account. Okay. So, and even if you click here, if it is giving directly my account, my organization, service quotas and all, that means you are using root user. Okay. Now let's navigate to IAM. I've navigated to IAM here. So 0 users, 0 groups, 0 customer managed policies. These roles, I cannot delete that based on the usage it is going to create automatically some. We cannot delete that. So then identity provider 0. Right now, this third option, create individual IAM users. Click on this. See, do not use your AWS root account for day-to-day interactions with AWS because root account provides unrestricted access to your AWS resources. Then by using IAM, we can give them only permissions they need or required. Okay, now let's click on manage users. I do not have any users. Now I want to create one user. Click on add user. So then what is the username you want to give? So you can give any username. So it all depends on your organization naming policies. For example, if you're taking my organization, first letter of my name, then my surname. That surname is difficult to pronounce. So again, it is our own account. You can give any name. So first I'm going to create a user with a name called Avinash. Okay. And if you want to create multiple users, yes, add another user. But all these users are going to create with same level of permissions. Why? Because in next step, you need to add permissions in step 2. Okay. So I'm creating a user with a name called Avinash. Now, basically we have 2 access types on our AWS account. So you can hit your AWS account in 2 ways, by using UI, by using CLI. So if you are using browser and if you are managing your AWS account, that is nothing but AWS Management Console access. Graphically, you can log in, you can view, you can just go there and you can create all your resources. Exactly same way, we can perform these operations by using CLI also, command line interface. That type of access we call it as a programmatic access. Okay, so here we are going to get a username, we are going to get a password and sign in URL. But whenever you are selecting this programmatic access, you are going to get a access key ID and secret access key. You will get a access key ID. These 2 are not same. If you are trying to use this to log into your AWS account by using a browser, it will not allow you. So this user is designed to work with browsers. This user by using to perform CLI operations, to perform SDKs, to perform API calls on our AWS account, they are going to use that. Again, we have a dedicated session on this. By using CLI, we are going to launch a server, we are going to access all our S3 resources, different resources. So at moment, we really don't know that resources. So that is why I'm going to explain this with management console access. We will go deep dive into that programmatic access in our EC2 module. Okay. So I'll throw some light on that in our next session, but at moment, I'm going to select management console access. I'm going to select management console access, right? So then when I select this option, immediately I got console password. If you want to go with console password, the first one is auto-generated password. Second one is custom password. If you want to set up your own password, you can give that. Or if you want to go with auto-generated, Amazon is going to randomly generate a password and you need to share that with this user. Let's assume you're the manager to this AWS account and a new user joined your team and his name is Avinash and you want to give AWS access to that user, but without giving root credentials. That is what I'm performing now. So I'm giving management console access. I'll go with auto-generated password. If I give a custom password, if I uncheck this, he must continue with the same password. So I'll go with auto-generated, and I know that auto-generated password, right? As a manager or as a TL. So I'm going to select this option. When this Avinash user is login for the first time, I'm enforcing him to create a new password. I'm enforcing him to create a new password. Required password reset. User must create a new password at next sign in. So to perform this operation, one policy is going to add automatically. IAM user change password is going to add automatically. Then click on next. So any questions on this page? Username, what type of access you require, you can select that. Console password and required password reset. Okay.
Can we check both programmatic?
Yes, we can check both. We can create both, no issues with that. So I'll show you these programmatic access in our coming session. So don't worry at moment. We'll go phase by phase. So if I explain both at a time, you will get confused. So I'm going to click on next. Now, this is a page where you need to add permissions. Without adding permissions also, we can create a user. What he can do, he can just log in. That's it. That means by defaultly, IAM user will not have any access on AWS account. If he need any access, you must add permissions or policies. Then only he can get access on AWS resource. Okay. So again, multiple options. First one is add user to group. But he's a first user, I literally don't have any groups. But if you want to create a group, you can create a group and you can associate policies on group level. You can add this user to group. Let's assume I want to give admin permission to this user or one particular service and he's going to have only one user. So I want to associate policies directly. Then the second option, copy permissions from existing user. So he's my first user. Simple, this is copy operation. What will happen if you perform copy and paste? You're going to get same file, right? Exactly same way. You already have one administrator or one user. This new user also required same set of permissions. So you can simply select that user, is going to replicate the permission is going to replicate as that user. Third option, attach existing policies directly. So we have 473 policies are there. Again, as I mentioned, we have customer managed policy, AWS managed policy, job function policy. Let's pick this job function. These are Amazon intelligently what it did. Okay, if you have a developer, he may need access on all these services. If he is a database administrator, he may need access on all services. If he is a power user, if he is a network administrator or support user, he may need access on all these services. Intelligently, they have given. If he is a data scientist, yes. And if you want to see, I told you these policies are written in JSON format, right? If you want to verify or if you want to look into that, expand this. It gave you short description along with that. Okay, this is what the policy is. These are the services we are going to get access if you are associating this data scientist job function to this Avinash user. That is a job function one. And AWS managed. You can go there. You can select AWS managed. So these all are the 472 policies are there related to AWS job fund, AWS managed policy. Again, what service you required, you can. For example, this user required access on EC2. These all are related to EC2. See, EC2 full access, EC2 just reports access, EC2 role for SSM, EC2 instance connect, multiple roles available here, policies available here. Again, let's take S3. S3 full access, S3 read-only access. So if you associate this S3 read-only access, he will get only that permission, nothing more than that. If you want to associate multiple, yes, you can. Along with S3 read-only, I want to give EC2 full access or EC2 read-only access. I can give that. So this user is going to get S3 read-only as well as EC2 read-only access. Or if you want to give only one, yes, you can select only one. I'm giving only one at moment. Okay, that is S3 read-only access. So he can go there, he can view all the resources, he can view the data, but he cannot delete, he cannot create new resources. Let's look into that now. So now click on next. Tags. So this tags actually plays important role in our resource creation. It is very simple but effective one. For example, you have project 1 and you are using couple of users for project 1 and you want to filter all the resources. So you're going to use tags and you are going to filter that. So we have a concept called resource groups. There we will use the tags and we will filter all the resources. So let's give for what project you are using. Let's assume for a POC we are using. Let's take a company for ADT POC you are using this user, then you can give that. So how many resources you are using for this POC? You can give same tag. Later on you can filter all the resources by using this tag. Servers, databases, everywhere we can associate a tag. Take any resource. So let's assume you are taking it as for a POC you are using this proof of concept. Then click on review. So this is a review screen. Username. We have selected AWS Management Console with a password. Auto-generate password. Password reset yes. Permission boundary is not set. So we are allocated this policy and here is a tags. So then click on create a user. Now one IAM user got created. And here is a password. So here is a username. Here is a password. Here is a sign-in URL link. If you accidentally forgot this password, no issues. You can generate a new password. Okay. And if you want to send all this information as an email to Avinash user, click on send email. It opens a email client. There you can write all your emails and all. You can send that. Okay. Again, if you want to download all this information into your local machine, here is an option, download.csv. Click on that. So one file got downloaded with all the required information or generated information. So this is a username, this is a password. See, no access key ID and secret access key. Why? Because we have not selected that option. So then console login link. All right. So now let's click on close. Now when you go to dashboard, we are going to get a third tick mark for create individual IAM user. Okay. So now we created an IAM user. I want to log in as that user. I want to verify his level of access, whether he is able to access all the resources or only some resources. I just want to verify that. But before that, so this is a URL, right? So this URL is a bit difficult to remember. Basically numbers bit difficult to remember. That's why instead of IP addresses, we have DNS names. Instead of phone numbers, we have names, right, in our contacts. How many phone numbers you remember? Very less. If you compare with your phone numbers list, phone contacts list. So what you can do, you can give an alias name for this 12-digit AWS account ID. So to set up that alias name, Here is an option. This is what the IAM user sign in link. So here is an option, customize. So click on customize. You can give an account alias name here. So whatever the string you want to give here, that must be unique. That should not contain any uppercase letter. So let me give Avinash when I click on enter. So it is saying it must contain only digits, lowercase letters or hyphens. So that is not allowing me to use. Let me give small. When I click on, it is saying account alias Avinash is already existed. So I must select a new one. So then Avinash AWS, click on create. That is also taken. You can use hyphens. That is also taken. So click on yes create. It is available and I am using that. So now I can use either of the URL. I can use either of the URL and both are pointing to same AWS account. So now for this Avinash user, I'm going to give this information. So now this Avinash user, now what is our root email? We don't know. He have his username, he have his own password, but he really don't know what is the email ID used to create this AWS account. So he cannot try to log in as a root user. Okay, now let's pick another browser. I'm going to use another browser. Why? Because one user for one session, one AWS session. So I'm going to open Firefox. Is there any chance with link with SSO? Yes, we can implement single sign-on. And MFA is applicable on IAM users. Yes, we are going to discuss that. Okay, so now aws.com I am giving, and here sign into the console. You really no need to remember this entire URL, guys. No need to. So I just clicked on sign into. See here, this is a login page. Now, if I gave entire email ID, you are login as a root user. If you are giving only account ID or alias name, you are going to log in as IAM user. Very simple. What is our alias name? Obviously, one is my alias name. When I click on next, it will ask us to enter IAM username and password. If I am giving my entire email ID, I'm going to log in as a root user. Okay. So, or else you can simply bookmark this. You can simply bookmark, and when you click on that, so it is going to load that login page automatically, and it will ask you to enter username and password. Here is a page. This is filled automatically. Here is a username and here is a password. Or if you are giving this, nothing changes. Instead of this number, you are going to get an alias name. Nothing changes. That's it. Again, page is same, right? So again, with this one also, if I am giving only alias name or account number, so it is going to take you to the same page. You see this? This is auto-filled data. See this? Account ID, username, and password. Okay. So the username is Avinash, and password, some auto-generated password. Click on sign in. It is enforcing me to create a new password. Why? Because you selected that, create a new password when you sign in for the first time. So what is the old password? What is the new password? Click on confirm password change. And I have given a very weak password. I have given a very weak password. So I want, as a root user, I want to restrict that one also. We will talk about that. So I logged in as Avinash user. See, this is a difference. Earlier, We worked as a root user directly account name, but here as you logged in as a root user, IAM user, your username at the rate your account ID, or if you are using this URL, it is going to show you your account alias name. In place of that number, you are going to get an ID. So now let's verify this user access. Okay, so let me navigate to EC2. Where he don't have access on that resource. He have S3 read-only access only. So I just clicked on EC2 and see whatever the operation I am trying to perform, it is giving error. You are not authorized to perform this operation. You are not authorized to describe this operation. All errors. Not only here, take any service, he is going to end up with an error. Failed to create repository. He is not able to perform any operations. Now let's navigate to S3. Under storage, you can find S3. Go there. Seems this is working here. So I'm able to list the resources. For example, I want to view one file, so I can go to this bucket. So for example, I want to view this a.jpg. I can go here, I can click on open, and I'm able to view that image. Why? Because this user has a policy S3 read-only access. Now let's try to delete any of the bucket. So this is a bucket. I want to, let me take the same bucket. I want to delete this. Click on delete. So it is asking me to enter the bucket name. Bucket is nothing but a folder. Then when you click on confirm, operation failed. But delete bucket failed. Just because of this user contain only read-only access. That is why he is not able to. Let's try to create a bucket. Click on create bucket. What is the bucket name you want to give? So Avinash and today's date 11/12/2019. Then click on create. Error, access denied. You got it? So we are restricting this user Avinash access on our AWS account. See, these all resources same for root user also. So if I go to S3, the same AWS account, same resources, nothing changes. Whatever the data root user contain, all IAM users also contain same data. Nothing changes, but their level of access we are monitoring or managing. So earlier when we delayed this a.jpg, it just thrown an error, right? But I can delete this. I can go here. I can delete this. It is success. Why? Because root user have complete access, but this IAM user don't have valid permissions. Now that is going to replicate for this user also. See, this a.jpg is deleted for this IAM user also. Same AWS account, data, servers, everything is same, but what operations you are allowing for that user is different here. Okay. So now I want to elevate this user's permissions. At moment, we have given S3 read-only access. I want to give S3 write permissions, S3 full access. Simple, go here, add permissions. Click on add permissions. You can create a group, you can add this user to a group, or copy permission from an existing user, is a only user, then attach existing policies directly. So here, just give S3 full access. Click on review, add permissions. So now S3 read only is there, S3 full access also is there. So full access is going to take effect. We have a matrix, we will discuss that. We'll create, we can even block also, that we will discuss in our next session. So now if I go here, so earlier if I try to delete it, thrown an error, right? But now let's try to delete one object. Now it is success and I'm working as a IAM user. Why? Because this user contains S3 full access now. You can to not get into issue. I'm just detaching the read only. So we have S3 full access only, then that user is able to perform this operation. But only S3, if you try to perform something on EC2, again is going to end up with an error. See, these all errors. What are the operation? These all end up with an error. Got it? Sure. Policy, associating policy is always important whenever you are creating an IAM user. What policy you are associating, that level of access is going to get on our AWS account. Okay. So one small thing, we'll discuss about groups. Now, I have only one user called Avinash, but let's assume we have 3 or 4 users who need access on S3, just read only, or 4 users required same kind of access. So associating individual policy for all the 4 users be difficult to manage. So what you can do, go to groups, create new group, and here is a group name. The group name I'm going to give S3 read only. S3 read only group. Click on next step. Now, what policy you want to associate to this group? So I'm going to give S3 read only access for this group. Next step, create group. See, I created a group, but I have not added any users. Okay. Now let's go to users, add user, username. So I'm going to give user1, user2, and user3. Again, what kind of access he required? AWS Management Console access, auto-generated password, user must create a new password, then click on permissions. Now I have a group, I can add this user to group. Instead of attaching policies on individual users, I'm simply adding all these users to a group, and that group contain a policy for S3 read-only access. So this user is not going to get any policy on user level. On group level, he is going to get permissions. Then click on next, review, then create user. Now 3 users got created, and all the 3 users will get permissions from group level, and 3 different passwords we got. You can share for, you can download, and you can share all these credentials to these users. So that is managing with groups. Simple, nothing new, just you are allocating permissions at group level, not on individual user level. So this is also complete. The last option, apply an IAM passport policy. So I think we are running out of time. We will discuss that in our next session. Along with that, we are going to create our required policies. We are going to create our customer managed policies with all our required settings. And so far the policies we are allowing, but the associating, it contains only allow operations, not any operations. Let's take a scenario. You have an administrator. He required access on all services, but not on one particular service. That scenario we cannot achieve by if you are going with that AWS managed policy or job function policies. You must create your own policy. Then only you can. So those we will discuss in our next session. Okay. So any questions so far, guys? And along with that, I'll explain you this programmatic access also in our next session. Okay. So can we copy root user access to an IAM user? So root user always have highest priorities. You cannot copy all settings. If you want to manage account operations, we can. See, account management can happen only with root user. Changing support plan can be performed only by using root user. If you gave full permissions, highest level of permissions to an IAM user also, he cannot perform that. Very simple. So if you want to manage billing access to an IAM user, we can. That's, I'm going to give tasks. So that is too early to discuss. So only root user can create IAM, or if IAM user have valid permissions on IAM, he can create. We have policies on IAM also. So if you go here under policies, IAM full access, So I'm creating an IAM user, and for that user I am giving IAM full access. What he can do, he can create another user, he can delete an IAM user. It is possible, but the policy is important. If I gave IAM read only, he can view how many users are there, but he cannot delete, he cannot create a new user. So yes, it is possible to enable MFA for an IAM user. I'll show that. So only root user can create IAM users, or is it possible to set up LDAP authentication with IAM users? Yes, we are going to discuss that in our coming sessions, Pushpa Kumar. We have directory services, and we can maintain directory service in AWS, or else if you have any directory services or authentications like LDAP authentications, your Active Directory in on-premise, we can replicate that users also into our AWS account by using AD connector. Okay, and whatever the user you have in user account 1, you can use same user in AWS account 2 also. That is also we are going to discuss. This is a first session. It's just a first session, and first steps you are going to perform on your AWS account. Those all things we will discuss. So I hope you got the real difference between root user and admin, Shailendra.
Yes, sir, I got it.
And if you want to enable MFA for any IAM user, so it is easy only. Just go to that user account, go to security credentials, and assign MFA device, click on manage, the same steps you can allocate. Since that account and entry is already existed, okay, let me pick another user, security credentials, assign MFA device, so then virtual MFA. So show the scan QR code, enter that. We can. Basically, I'm going to discuss these options in our next session, guys. We have not yet done with IAM, and I'll take you through all these options. What is group, stacks, access advisor? I'll take you through these options. Sir, that is, we have a dedicated session for roles. We will discuss there. As I mentioned, this is the first session. It is too early to discuss roles. We will discuss. We have a dedicated session on that. Can't IAM user enable MFA himself? If you gave required policy, he can. If you gave required policy, IAM user can activate MFA himself. We can export users from CSV. That is an option we are going to get under credentials report. I'm going to share that tomorrow. So we have not yet done with IAM. I'll show you. We can export all the users, and we can get information also, like when that user is last logged in, when he recently changed his password, what service he accessed. That also we are going to discuss in our next session. Any other questions from classroom? Certification questions, yes, we will discuss. We have not yet done with IAM. We'll definitely discuss. How exactly I have shown in our last session. Exactly same way I'll definitely show. No, all good? Okay. So then that's it for this session, guys. So in our next session, we will discuss, first of all, password policy. Second thing, we are going to discuss about how we can create our own policies. Then we will discuss how you can generate a credentials report. Then we are going to discuss how we can monitor or track all the activities performed by an IAM user. Those all, and policy simulator. If you apply these all policies, what activity he can perform and all, those all things we will discuss in our next session. Okay. So thank you, guys.